we are getting new Doctor Who on Thursday the 23rd of November, the official anniversary. But not the Doctor Who you might be expecting. Because as you may have heard by now, we are getting a colourised version of the 1960s black and white serial The Daleks, the second serial ever from Doctor Who's history, and the one that introduced the famous, infamous Daleks that we all know and love. So I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about what could be colourised next. Will they be doing any more? They haven't announced any more, but they might be doing some. So what do we think could be next? I'm going to talk about that in this video. Hi, I'm Phil, welcome to my channel where I like to talk about all the geeky pop culture that I like and consume. That's a lot of things. Things like Red Dwarf, things like Star Trek, things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and of course, things like Doctor Who. And we're in the 60th anniversary, so I'm really churning those anniversary videos out because, hey, it's this month. This is the anniversary month. And we're getting lots of treats. We've had Tales of the TARDIS being released. That was really interesting. I still hope to find some time to do a review of that at some point. But we've also got the announcement that we're going to be getting this colourised version of the 1960s Dalek serial. What it's going to be is going to be a cut down blockbuster, they referred to it, edit of this. Because it was originally, I think, 6 25-minute episodes, which quickly in my head is about 2.25 hours. Is that right? Have I got that right? 2.25 hours. 2.5 hours. Definitely 2.5 hours. So they're cutting down the 2.5 hours of the original runtime down to just 75 minutes. That's, an hour and 15 minutes. So that's quite a lot they are cutting out. But to be honest, I think it can probably handle it as a story. There is a lot of filler within that story. It's a story I love. It introduced the Daleks. I have a lot of affection for that story, but it has a lot of filler, and it has a lot of moments where they take 5 minutes to do something that should take 30 seconds, and nothing really interesting happens in those 5 minutes. They're just moving from one place to another, like along a cliff, for instance. So there was probably some elements of it that were quite easy to take out. I'm sure there were hard choices as well, but it's not out of the realms of possibility. And you can absolutely, obviously, preserve the core of the story within those just over an hour, because it's been done before. This was, of course, a story which got turned into a feature film back in the 1960s, filmed with a whole new cast and new script and everything, and done as the Doctor Who and the Daleks film with Peter Cushing. So that was around this runtime, I think. It was just over an hour, maybe a little bit more. So the core of the story can be cut down, we know that. So I'm very looking forward to seeing what they've done for this. We've got a little tiny sneak peek in the new Whoniverse logo that they've created, which has clips of various different things within it. One little bit is a bit of colourised Daleks, so have a look at that for what this may look like. This is going to be available to watch on BBC4 in the UK, and presumably on iPlayer after that on 23rd of November, so on Doctor Who's birthday, on the 60th birthday itself. And I don't know if it's going to be made available anywhere else in the world. I'm sure eventually it will end up on the season 1 collection set, hopefully, fingers crossed we do get that at some point and this will be on there. And so that's kind of the news segment of this, but I also wanted to do a bit of speculation, because will they do more of these? I mean, it could be that they're just doing this as a one-off special for the 60th anniversary, or it could kick off a trend, sort of like the animations did when we started getting those. They started with one as an experiment, and eventually now we get them quite regularly. But is there going to be more of this? We don't know yet, but I hope there would be more. You could argue both sides of this, of whether or not it's worth doing. They obviously were made in black and white. They were designed to be viewed in black and white, but I think adding colour, and especially doing a sort of more pacey cut down version of these sometimes stories which, while great, do drag sometimes. I think we can admit that. I think it's a good idea, and I think it's a great way to introduce the stories and make them more palatable to maybe some newer viewers as well. Now, if they did do more, what would you want to see? Let me know in the comments below. I have my own views. I also asked on Twitter only about half an hour before recording this video, so I haven't got many answers back, but a few people have given their suggestions. Here's mine. Here's the list I came up with. I came up with 3 for Hartnell and 3 for Troughton that I would really like to see colourised, because I think they would be interesting colourised. So one of these next would be interesting. I've gone for the Keys of Marinus because it has quite a variety of locations in this. Every episode has a kind of new location within the Keys of Marinus, which I think some of those locations could be quite colourful, quite interesting. I haven't seen the behind the scenes, photos of this time, which, colour photos do exist, or colourised photos do exist of this era. But I would be interested to see that. I think that could be a good one because of the amount of stuff there. The Aztecs is another one. The glorious outfit that Barbara's wearing. Just imagine seeing that in colour. I've seen some colourised photos of that, or possibly maybe they were real colour photos, I'm not sure. But I've seen photos of that and it looked stunning. So to see that in motion would be really good. Not to mention all the other costumes and the glorious background of the Aztec jungle and all of that would be quite interesting too. Then of course, we've done the Daleks, we might as well do the Daleks invasion of Earth. Just makes sense. And I think again, you've got the option, you've got just seeing those colorized 60s Daleks again would be interesting. It's the iconic creatures that people will, want to see. So I think that's another good one. And I always preferred Invasion Earth. Daleks Invasion of Earth over the original Daleks personally. For the second Doctor, it's a bit more tricky because there is less actual available. A lot of his stories are missing. So we've had, thankfully, a lot of animated recreations since then, but that's no good for this purpose. We need the original footage to colorise, and we want whole stories. We don't want ones where part of them are missing. So I've gone for Tomb of the Cybermen because we've had the first iconic monster, the Daleks, colorised with this one. Let's get the second iconic monster to be introduced into Doctor Who in there as well. On a similar vein, we've got the Ice Warriors, which I think would be interesting. They're obviously all green. I believe a lot of the set was green as well. So maybe you could take a little bit of creative license there and varying up the colours a little bit. But the Ice Warriors would be another one I'd be interested in seeing. And finally, one I've only recently seen is the Mind Robber. I saw it as part of Tales of the TARDIS for the first time. That was the first time I've ever seen that story. I've never seen it before, but it's this, the world of fantasy, the world of fiction, and there's lots in there that could therefore be quite colourful, I think. I don't know if it was on the original set, but again, maybe you could take some creative license here. You got things like the unicorns and the books world and the letters and things, and I think there's quite a lot there that you could do to make it interesting and colourful, and I would be interested to see what would come out of that. Now, as I said, I did ask on Twitter and got a couple of replies. I got one from Josh Murphy Studios, who said the War Games, as it's the last story to air in black and white and the only fully black and white regeneration in the archives. And yes, that would be really interesting to see, the first regeneration colorized. What would they just do it as a blinding white light still, or would they add a bit of maybe the regeneration colour that we're used to, the kind of orangey glow that we've gotten used to in more modern times? It'd be interesting to see what they did with that. At WhoFan189 said The Rescue. It's only 2 episodes and it's a great story. And I agree, yeah, it is a great story. And the fact that it's only 2 episodes would make it certainly quicker and easier and cheaper to do. So that might work in its favour for being one of the ones that they do. It's also the introduction of a companion, so that's another plus side for colorizing something. Now, Clever Dick Films, who has an amazing YouTube channel which you should also check out, I'll leave a link somewhere down below, had an interesting way of turning this on its head and said that they'd be more interested in learning which colour stories would work in black and white. So doing the opposite, taking a colour story and making it black and white. And that could be interesting. I'd like to see a modern Doctor Who story done in black and white. We know that, things like Marvel have done black and white stuff with their horror themed MCU entry recently. There was a special entry, I can't remember what it was called now, but that one, they've done black and white recently. I think it could be interesting. But taking a story that is already in colour and turning it into black and white, definitely interesting. What he says here is, I know there have been a few fan edits of New Who stories. Yes, there have, haven't there? Who did one? I know that there was one of World Enough and Time, a black and white edit of World Enough and Time. Was it George Shard? Did George do that? Did George do the black and white? I think he did. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below if it was someone else. But yeah, that was fantastic. So maybe some, either modern ones or, some of the classic series that was done in colour, which ones of those would work as black and white would be interesting to find out. In a reply to Cleveredic Films tweets there, Steph said Silence in the Library would work as a black and white treatment. And yes, that would, she said, it would honestly be a nightmare. Be a nightmare. There's a swear word in there I'm not going to say. Don't want to get demonetized. Yeah, and in the best way, and it would. That is the creepiness. Again, absolutely fantastic. One thing that Clever Dick Films did point out was that it's not just desaturating the image, it's adjusting the light and shade and really, honing it, and that can make a big difference. And I absolutely agree. He did also put in his own actual suggestion for what black and white ones should be colorized, and that was Aztecs as well. He said it would look scrumptious, like the Target novel cover. So I think, yeah, we agree on that. I already said that one. So let me know what you would think, what ones you would like colorized in the future if they continue this. Let me know that in the comments below, and I'll see you for more Doctor Who videos soon. Happy 60th anniversary, guys.